Good morning. This is David Plazas, Community Conversation Editor of the News Press. It is June 20th, 2012, and we have the pleasure of having with us Heather Fitzenhagen, candidate for Florida House of Representatives, District 78. And before we begin this interview, editorial board members, would you please introduce yourselves for the record?
I'm Dick Kalfas from Cape Coral.
Kate Gooderham, Fort Myers.
Pam Grotehouse, Bonita Springs.
Roy Hyman, former editorial board member from South Lee County.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Fitzenhagen, thank you so much for joining us. And tell us, why are you running for this position?
I'm running because I think I have the skill set to do a good job in the legislature, and I have a great knowledge and love for the community that I've gained over the years doing different types of volunteer work and serving on boards. So I felt when the position came available, when we got the new seat because of the redistricting, and one of our current sitting legislators had suggested that I look at the spot. It just seemed like it was the right thing to do at the right time, and I'm really excited about having the opportunity to try to serve at another level for the community.
Good. And tell us a little bit about what your priorities are, and if you're elected to Tallahassee, what are the first things that you'd like to do?
Well, I have three main priorities, the first of which is jobs, jobs, jobs is my mantra these days, and not only just jobs pure and simple, but I'm going to be seeking to follow some of the lead of the Department of Economic Development and the 6 pillars that the Chamber has put forth to try to find businesses that will come here that have more of a high-tech biotechnology feel that will fit into some of the things we're doing in our education system with the enhancement and increase in our STEM programs. So those will be a particular focus on the kinds of jobs that I'm looking for going forward to attract. I'm also going to be trying to take some of the blueprints from existing companies that have been successful, that find this a great place to do business, so that I'll have that knowledge to go out and try to persuade others to come here. And the companies I'm talking about are the Chicos of our community, the Algenols, the Arthrexes, those types of companies that have been successful and are continuing to thrive here in Southwest Florida.
And as you're aware, you would be term limited if you're elected as 8 years, and there's quite a bit of a hierarchical structure there, so you've got a leadership and you've got a lot of pressures. Tell us a little bit about your style with working with others to come to consensus, and also how you would approach leadership asking you to vote on something that you may or may not agree with.
Well, that is interesting. I think one of the skill sets that I have that I will be able to put to effective use in Tallahassee is my background as an arbitrator and a mediator, because that is, at its very nature, is trying to get people to come together that have completely polar opposite views, that have a lot at stake and have an emotional tie to the outcome of the case or the matter. So when I go to Tallahassee, I'm going to be trying to put forth my skills to bring people together to find a consensus, and I think I can do that on certain things. I'm very open-minded to hearing other people's points of view. I think that one of the first things I'll do when I get to Tallahassee is listen very carefully, because you can learn a lot more by listening than you can by speaking. And as far as voting on things that are receiving pressure, I mean, clearly there are going to be those times. There's no doubt that's how our legislative process works. And I think what I will need to do is try to educate myself to the extent that I can on any issue that I'm facing, make a thoughtful decision, try to avoid being pressured, and try to stay focused on those things that are most important to me. Again, going back to jobs for our community, early intervention for kids and families in our community, and also maximizing our water resources for the community. So I'm going to try to stay focused on the things that are important to Southwest Florida when I'm up there.
One of the challenges you'll face is, as a freshman legislator, you'll probably have very few bills that you can usher through. Do you have any specific bills that you find appealing that you want to try to work through the system?
I don't have a specific bill in mind at this time. I'm just going to do whatever I can to try to find ways to work through my agenda, which are those three prongs. So I don't have a particular bill. One that I think that I've discussed in some of my other meetings, which may or may not come up, is the internet tax, whether or not we should move forward with requiring people who make purchases from out-of-state companies to pay the sales tax, because we're not, that it is the law, but we're not collecting sales tax from out-of-state vendors. Now, there's quite a bit of controversy there, so I really want to see what the impact and how positively collecting that tax would be on our state of Florida and our businesses, but that would be something I'd consider doing.
And what political heroes do you have in your past, and what representative would you most emulate when you go to Tallahassee?
Well, the political hero that I can single out is Jeb Bush, and so I don't have a particular representative. I certainly find all of them inspiring because they're willing to go up there and serve, and many of them, when I visited Tallahassee, Will Weatherford has taken the time to talk to me, our incoming speaker, and I value all their opinions. But going back to Jeb Bush, I like his approach to things. Was not a strong partisan. I think he looked at every issue with fresh eyes, and he was willing to try to build consensus, and always, I felt, had the best interests of the state of Florida at heart when he was governor. So he's very inspiring to me.
What is your philosophy with regard to the three branches of government? And the context is that Speaker Cannon had proposed splitting the Supreme Court of Florida, making it two chambers, much like Texas is. And certainly there was some criticism of Governor Bush that he wanted a much stronger executive than the legislature. How would you approach that, and in terms of looking at the relationship between the executive, legislature, and judiciary?
Well, my perspective would be to keep the judicial branch in its current form. I do not have an interest in splitting them. I think that they do a wonderful job, and I would like to keep the body, as it was conceived originally, and maintain it. And beyond that, I don't really have an opinion any further on it.
On that subject,
yes.
Apparently 3 justices failed to qualify legally and technically in terms of running again for the office of Supreme Court Justice. Are you aware of it, and do you have any thoughts on that particular situation?
I wasn't unaware of it, so thank you for sharing that. And I don't. I'd have to look more closely to see what the ramifications of that would be.
One of the big job creators and job maintainers in Lee County is tourism.
Yes.
And one of the big draws for tourists are beaches.
Yes.
And one of the things that has been a very strong state issue over the years is restoring our beaches. I'd like you to discuss your views on that.
Well, obviously, I am aware of the importance that tourism plays, and we had a tremendous tourism season this year, which I was very happy to see, full hotels and full restaurants, and people come here for our beaches, and they come here because we have, great sand and great water. So having said that, there's a couple of things that I would do. I'd continue to support any things to clean up the beaches, to have the dredging, say, like we're doing it at a Blind Pass, to keep that waterway open. I would also be a proponent of precluding offshore drilling in Florida's territorial waters, because the economic driver of tourism is essential to our community, and therefore I would not want to put that at risk for what I would foresee as being a very minimal benefit. And what I mean by that is drilling offshore, the minimal benefit in the sense that we don't have refineries in the state of Florida. We have to send any oil that we would get to an outside place, and the nearest being Louisiana. I don't envision building a refinery here. I don't think that would help any of our economic drivers of tourism, agriculture, or community development. So I would preclude that drilling and continue to support tourism and clean beaches.